All right, so we're going to do some twists today. And twists are kind of cool, but like most things, can be difficult if done in the extreme. And, the older I get, I don't know about you guys, but the older I get, the more I start to pay attention to the subtleties of my practice and not rely on such extreme ranges of motion to give me that sense of completeness for a posture or a practice that you want to move to your edges and play around in the edges, but I think there's really deep importance in not pushing past edges, especially as we age. Our joints start to get a little bit more vulnerable and a little bit more prone to overuse, so we want to be very mindful and careful, and our spine, of course, is part of this process. So twisting postures can be very difficult for the spine. They put a lot of force upon the spine, so we have to be extremely careful in how we move through twisting postures. I know I've said this before, but I'll repeat it again, that seated twists, twists when you're sitting down, the gravity is pressing right down on our spine. And, we have to do a lot of work to move ourselves, the upward flow of energy, the vayus of the body, the up and down flows of the body have to be in concert with each other so that we are both yielding and expanding upward, so that we counteract some of those forces of slumping that gravity holds on us. And so much of our day we slump anyway without being aware that, we're rounding our shoulders and rounding our back. So the first most important thing you can do for healthy twisting in your practice is to have lots of space for the vertebrae and lots of space for the discs between the vertebrae. So a lot of upward movement through the spine at the same time as yielding. And then the next thing you want to be very mindful of, especially when seated, but in all twists, that your range of motion is what it is, that you are twisting and turning toward the side and only going to the place that's safe and healthy for your body. So a lot of times, I'm going to back up so you can see me. A lot of times when we come into a posture like this, where we have an elbow against a knee, we can use the force of our bones, which are very strong and have a lot of leverage, to push ourselves deeper into a posture instead of letting the spiral of the twist happen through the breath. So besides the long spine and the yielding, we want to have our breath originated from and completed with breath. The exhales allow us to engage our oblique muscles, which are the muscles that help turn us in our torso. So focusing the exhale, the twist on the exhale, and the length of the spine on the inhale can be a nice little way of working. It's not necessary, but it's a nice way, I think, of working with maneuvering yourself in the twist so that you can find the place where your body is most comfortable in its range of motion without force or strain and torque on the bones. So this is all very important. And then thirdly, and this also is very important for seated twists, maybe more important than twists where you're on your back, or standing pose twists where your torso is horizontal to the floor, is to make sure that the pelvic bowl is in a good place for neutral curves of the spine. So just like we don't want to slump our upper back, we also don't want to overarch or over round the lumbar spine. So getting to a place where your pelvis is really neutral, where you're not tipping forward or tipping back too much, where the lumbar curve is in a neutral place. This is another thing to stay aware of when we are twisting, so that we don't put a lot of force on the lumbar spine. So just one last thing, the lumbar spine vertebrae. So if here's a vertebrae, we have a lot of pokey out, the parts on the back that stick out, the spinous processes, they're called, on the back of the vertebrae. The lumbar spine don't have very, very sharp spinous processes like the thoracic spine does. And because of that, we have a lot more capacity to flex and bend in our lumbar spine, because those spinous processes in between each vertebrae aren't touching down on each other. So the chance of you having a lot more compromised motion in flexion, extension, rotation and lateral bending is there. So we want to make sure that we're always protecting our lumbar spine with the support of our core muscles and our breath, and the length and the yielding, so that we are moving from healthy places. And one of the ways that you can do this in twisting postures is when you use your obliques to twist one direction, to have a sense that you're counter twisting in the other direction. And we'll work with this a little bit in our practice, where we twist one way and then we actually allow our navel to turn back the other way. And this will give you that sense of hugging onto the spine in a twist. We do it often anterior and posteriorly for back bends and things like that. But in a twist, we hug onto the spine often by twisting one way and having a counter twist the other way, so that we're really wrapping on the vertebrae to stabilize ourselves. So those are just some of the thoughts. And that's just the physicality of twisting. The emotionality of twisting, of course, involves the breath. And, the word pavrita, which means to revolve or to turn toward, that's the word for twisted poses. So like pavrita trikonasana, revolved triangle pose. The word itself really means to turn toward something. So twists can often energetically be not just this, yummy practice for invigorating the spine and keeping the body strong, and flexible, but also this sense of, what are we turning toward? And as the seasons, you can feel it just a teeny bit in the air at night, as we start to turn toward a new season, what are you looking toward? What is it that you're facing, instead of just what are you turning away from? So to think, emotionally too, what are you directing your energy toward? Where is there spirals in your life? Where are there things that you keep revolving back around to with a fresh new perspective? So let's go ahead and close your eyes and sit up straight and tall, and take a moment to just forget all the things I just said, and drop out of the mind the contemplation and the analyzing thought, and come into the breath and the body. Can you open your collarbones? Broaden across the shoulder blades. Do you have that sense that your posture is long? Are you sitting up on something comfortably enough where you have both the capacity to yield and to rise, root to rise? And if you feel as if your body goes into a tug of war to do this, where you have, okay, down, up, down, up, down, up, see what you can do to release a little bit of that, and find both simultaneously, where there's expansion in the upward and downward values of the body. Bring your breath into this expansion. And even the simple act of trying to lengthen your spine can feel aggressive at times. So let's lose the aggressiveness. Feel that sense that you can yield outward, upward, downward. The energy is softer as you expand versus rigid and forceful. Invite yourself into your breath. What does it feel like to breathe? Can you feel the 360 cylinder of support on your exhales? And it's not that you have to grip and harden your core, but just can you feel the pliability, the mobility that your belly has when you breathe in, softly expanding, and when you breathe out, the soft condensement. There is a reason why we don't have a rib cage all the way down to our pelvis. You would think if our ribs are there to protect our organs, that we would just take them all the way down to the pelvis and we would be in a cage. But there's good need for soft belly, for soft low back, for room for breath to move around, for room for intuition to expand, to allow ourselves to live in soft places as much as hard places. Feel yourself coming into that soft belly. Can you feel the dynamic interchange of breath Just notice what your pelvis feels like. You know, we didn't really orient, I didn't give you any cueing to orient where to be in the pelvis. So just notice where you naturally are. Do you tend to tip forward a bit? Do you tend to roll back a little bit? Do you lean into one sit bone more than the other? Just notice your tendencies of where you settle in the pelvis. And just see if you can find some balance. Balance left to right, balance anterior posterior. Finding that sense where your pelvis is neutral, capable of any pattern that might come. You could go in any direction. Still breathing deep down into the soft belly, even to the pelvic floor, the low back. And let's place our palms together at our heart. Let's bow in, take an intention. What are you turning toward? What are you deeply looking at within yourself? How can your practice give you presence, support? And then let's release the hands and come on to our back. So as you lie down, just take a moment, stretching your body. Maybe you want to squeeze, maybe you want to hold your breath for a second. Just follow the natural impulses of what your body's asking for. And stretch your right side, stretch your left side. Maybe let the hips come offline and move. One hikes up, the other drops down. Follow that with your shoulders. Just get into the sensation of your sides, the sensation in your low back, or anything that you're feeling. And then bring the knees into the chest and rock around a little bit. So swaying from side to side. Pay attention, how's your back feeling today? Are you needing to have special care? So with seated, we're going to do a couple of seated twists. We'll do some twists in all planes, standing, seated, and supine. So take stock. How is your back? Do you need to be very protective of twisting? They're some of the hardest movements for the lumbar spine. So if you're vulnerable in any way, you want to really be mindful. It doesn't mean you can't twist. It just means stay deep inside your own level of comfort. All right, right knee into the chest, left leg long on the floor. Let's start wiggling out the ankles and rolling the toes and seeing what's here. Awaken some of the muscles across the front of your shin, the sides, the back. And then switch sides, left knee into the chest, right leg is on the floor, and wiggle out your ankles and roll around and see what kind of movement's available. Don't forget the length of your spine here. See what you can do to find that length the whole way through. Feel a deep squeeze, knee into chest. And then go ahead and release your legs. Arms up overhead, stretch full body. Exhale, knee to chest, chin up. One more time, expand through your starfish. Exhale, bring your knees in. One more time. Open things up. Stretch your body free. Exhale, hug it. And then put your head back down onto the ground. Sway one more time. All right, now let's move our knees away from each other and back in. Just getting warm in the hip joints. Feel whatever range of motion you have available to your hip joints. Is one side different than the other? See what feels good here. All right, and then go ahead and put your feet down onto the ground, and we're just going to go a little bit wider than our hips and gently start to windshield wiper our knees. So this will just peek in at the obliques a little bit. See if you can feel where the obliques attach on the top of your hip bones, on the sides.
Around, wrapping around to that, front part of the hip bone. What are you feeling in all of these areas as you twist from side to side? And then this is just a gentle way to teach the body that pose, counter pose. Okay, so first we're just going to start it from the outside of our body. So put your hands on your belly. Okay, and as your knees drop over to the left, draw your skin and maybe the subcutaneous tissue right below your skin above your muscles. See if you can drag to the left as your knees go right. You don't have to go very far with your knees. And back center, drag to the right as the knees go left. Just try to allow the body to know that it can go in two different directions at the same time. So just going back and forth. And you can have as, we're working superficially with our hands, but feel free to play around with how deep and, what kind of pressure and slide, glide, drag you want across your belly. All right, and then we're going to come to have our knees straight up. Bring your arms down at your sides now. And as we drop our knees to the right, and don't go far, so we're not going all the way over to the side, even though you probably can. Maybe, 4 inches off to the right at the most. So we're just coming away from the midline to the right with our knees. And then draw the navel back to the left. See what it would feel like to feel the obliques on the left side hold you back a little bit from allowing those knees to go further. And then come back up and go to the opposite way. Knees go over to the left just a little bit and allow the navel to go right. So see if you can find the twist and the counter twist. And then notice, are you breathing? Or did you just tug on so tight that you forgot to breathe? Are you still finding the length of the spine? Is the pelvis still in a neutral place? Are you feeling lockdown mode-ish? Are you still able to have the soft belly breath? So experiment with trying to put all these things together a little bit. Come back. Let's go one more time to the right. Move the navel to the left. Allow yourself to still breathe. Deep breath, belly comes out a bit, relaxes. Exhale to find the twist, counter twist again. Let a little bit go on the inhale so that you're not in lockdown mode. The belly is still soft. The low back doesn't get strained. Come back up one more time to the left. Knees just go a little bit to the side. Navel turns to the right. Feel a sense of softness through your neck and shoulders. Are you taking this pose in your hands and your feet? See if you can really isolate the action of holding yourself to the center of the body. Still finding deep softness on inhale. Engagement on exhale. Back to center. Bring your knees into your chest, rock around a little bit, and just notice, how is your low back? Even just that little bit of twisting, can you feel the impact in your lumbar spine? Let's go ahead and roll over onto our side and come up onto our hands and our knees. All right, so finding the breath. Let's start moving through some cat-cows. And just notice, where is your natural range of motion? Especially if you're nursing a little bit of a back issue, whether you have an injury or just some chronic stuff where your range of motion is a little not, so expansive. Try not to push yourself into where your body isn't ready to go. Just let yourself warm up slowly. Breathe your way here. Notice the crown and the tail finding connection through the spine as you go through cat-cows. Such a great way to warm up the spine. It can be very gentle. There can be very little range of motion. There can be a lot of range of motion. And you can see, I'm noticing that as I do this, it's getting looser, just a little bit more free. All right, and then feel free to move anything you want around. So pay attention to the fact that you have shoulders, shoulder blades, that you have a neck, you have a big old head that can spin around, you have hips. Just find any movement that feels good in your body. All right, and then we're going to do some very specific movements. So hopefully this will be okay for your knee. Christina, I'm hoping your knee will be okay with this, but come onto your knees and lift your feet off the ground. Not high, just a couple inches or so. And we're just gonna move our feet left and right. And you can do this slowly or quickly, and let your spine follow. So as feet go left, turn left. As feet go right, turn right. Just start to wake up the obliques in the body. Are you breathing? Is the belly soft on the inhales? Is your spine able to grow? This is really good for also for loosening up some of the fascia in your lumbar spine, bringing up some space in there. All right, and then come back to a neutral back one more time. A cat-cow. Notice if that had any positive or negative impact on your spine. And then let's go ahead and find child's pose. As you come down to rest, wherever that lands for you, can you free up space in the lumbar spine? Can you breathe deeply? Visualize what's in there. All the discs, the vertebrae, create some space. All right, and then we're gonna walk our hands over to the left side of our mat. Open up through the ribs on this side. Feel a sense of expansion through the outer rim of your body. Let's see if you can also feel the side of your vertebrae, little windows opening up to the side, peeking out on that right side. All right, and then come back to center, inch over to the other side. Feel the big broadness across the ribs, down to the hip, and then also see if you can sense into the smaller openings, the little tiny side windows of your vertebrae expanding on this side and compressing a little bit on the other side. Breathe in, breathe out. All right, let's come back up onto all fours. Feel some swirls, some sways, whatever you want, and then find your way up to dog pose. All right, so wake up the feet, maybe put one foot on the ground, then the other, kind of rock or march a little bit, wake up the feet. Maybe you want to pedal so that we're moving one knee into a bend and the other straightens and the heel drops. So just get the lower legs and the feet to wake up, to be broad and supportive. Feel free to vibrate and bounce a little bit. Feel free to hop. There's so many things you can do to warm up and wake up your body. All right, and then once you find some stillness, find the yielding here. So give yourself over to the earth, settle into the posture, feel the sense of space through your spine. So as you yield your hands, can you rebound into expansion through the vertebrae? Same with your feet. Just see what you can find, that sense of dropping into the earth and expanding away from the earth. Melt the eyes, melt the jaw, feel the hamstrings open. All right, and then let's walk forward and come into Uttanasana. Fold a bit, bend the knees, and let's do similar. Wag your tail, left and right. Just loosen up the back a little bit. Feel free to wag your head, roll your shoulders around, whatever feels good. Inhale for a halfway lift. The spine is growing, the sit bones are getting high and wide, the feet are spread out, the arches lift. Exhale and melt back down. You can soften and bend your knees. Let's do that one more time. Halfway lift, thighs back, shins forward, spine long. Exhale and melt toward the floor. Push off your feet, rise up, coming into Tadasana, or maybe your arms come up overhead. Feel a sense of expansion. Now let's open up the chest. Spread out your wings. Maybe the elbows bend, maybe the arms come straight. Open the chest, spread out the collarbones, maybe even look up, see what your throat can open into. And then exhale and round in. Interlace your fingers, press them straight up toward the sky and reach over to the side. And see if you can feel this in your side body. So root down through your foot, inner spiral your thighs. Feel the side body stretch. Let the obliques get a little bit of space. Deep breath in, deep breath away. Soft belly on the inhale. And come back. Let's go to the other side. So inching over, try not to hike your hip up. See if you can keep the inner spiral of the thighs, the rootedness of the feet. Open up through the side body. Which side do you have a little bit more? Do you feel that you can lean to one side more than the other?
And then come on up, cactus, open the arms again, and then release the hands. Interlace them behind the back. Collarbones widen, hug the shoulder blades toward each other. Fold and lift the arms away from the spine wherever they go. Let the shoulders open a bit. And release and relax the hands. Come into a halfway lift. If you have blocks, now is a good time for them. Come back to a lunge with your right foot forward, your left foot back. Coming into the expansion, open up the hip flexors, and then as you exhale, square the hips and tuck the chin. And just move in through the range of motion of your legs, finding breath, moving with you. And then come to a lunge. Let's put our back knee down onto the ground. Rise up, bring your hands onto your knee, and just slightly twist to the right. Let this be about opening up the hip flexors on the side. Pay attention to your lumbar spine. Are you all smushed up in there? See if you can use just a little bit of support of your core. Keep that upward movement of the spine. Hug into the midline with your feet and your front foot and your back knee. And then release and relax and come out of there. Lift your back knee up off the floor. One more time, squaring the hips and relaxing your chin toward your chest. Come into a full lunge now, knee off the floor. Rise up, reaching the arms to the sky. Once again, protecting the lumbar spine, making sure that we're not divoting in there. See if you can feel the core support. Pubic bone lifts toward belly button. Find the softness. Find something that's easy and restful, something that's yielding. And then when you're ready, we're going to take an active twist off to the side. So you can keep your hands on your hips. You can have your arms out. You can twist your arms a little bit more. This is a very open twist. So mostly you're okay with that support that you need, but you want to have the core engaged. So see what it feels like to have the twist and a little bit of that counter twist going on. So as you turn to the right, can you hint back to the left? Are you still able to have big, soft belly breaths? And then come back to center, reaching the arms up in the air. Exhale and place the hand down onto the ground. Back foot comes forward, fold. Let the knees soften. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Step your left foot forward, right foot back. Come into a lunge on this side. Finding the breath, start moving. Notice what the hip flexors on that back leg feel like on this side. How are your hamstrings on the front leg on this side? Just coming back and forth with the breath. Notice if you are feeling happy about being in your body. Just warming up consistently. You know, we pretty much do a lot of the same things when we warm up. Does it give you a sense of, oh, now I'm inside of my body, I'm befriending my body, I'm here now, my body's opening, my breath is opening. Can you enjoy the subtleties of all of that? All right, let's put our knee down onto the ground. Come up and bring your hands onto your knee. Try not to hang in the hammock of your ligaments. Hug front heel and back knee toward each other. Hug inner thighs toward midline. Feel the support that comes from that and let your spine lift. Feel the core support. On your exhales, just a little twist off to the left. Notice what happens in the hip flexors as they open a bit more on that back leg. Are you staying supportive? Drop the shoulders. Belly is soft on the inhale. And release, relax your hands back down onto the ground. Back knee comes up off the floor. Square hips, straight legs, tuck chin. And then come into a lunge and rise up, crescent lunge. So your arms go where your arms go. So if your shoulders are problematic with arms overhead, you get to do something different. There's so many choices. Protect your body, be kind, stay inside of your range of motion. Feel the hug in toward the midline. Find the stability of your core, holding onto your spine on your exhales. Soft belly on the inhales. Give the interplay of the give and release. This is the yielding just deep inside of your body. When you're ready, let's twist to the left. Arms can go out to the side, deeper beyond the balance of the chest. Hands can be on the hips. be where you are. This is an open twist, so there's not a lot of torque, but there can still be some. So support your spine. See if you can find that twist and a little counter twist off to the other direction. Stay in your lunge. Hug into the midline. And then come back to center. Reach the arms upward if you want. Exhale and place the hands down. Come back to a plank. So hands on the ground, feet back. You can always put your knees on the floor instead if your body's calm for that. Support yourself however you need. Remember, our goal is to stay within healthy range of motion for this moment in time. So be in your body so you can respect it. If we're out off in our head somewhere, sometimes we don't notice cues in the body. Deep breath in. Exhale. Is the belly able to soften a bit on the inhale? And recondense on the exhales. All right, let's put our knees down. Come all the way to the floor. Feel the balance across your sacrum. Twists can mess with your SI joints a little bit if we're not stable. So curl the toes under, bring your knees wide, lay your legs back down. Inhale, lift just your legs up. Feel a lot of work in the outer hips. All the muscles that hug onto the sacrum, see if you can feel that support, balance across the SI joints. Exhale and release and relax. Bring your arms down at your sides. Take a deep breath, cobra pose. Exhale and come back down. Let's try that one more time. Extend the spine, support yourself, all the things you know. Exhale and release. Come back up onto all fours. Have a moment of moving around however feels best in your body. It can be cat-cows, it can be some circles. Eventually find your way back to dog pose. Stretch through your spine. Feel a sense of openness. Breathe deeply. Feel your feet pedal them out a little bit. Bend your knees. Root your knees into the hips. See if you can feel that movement of the femur bones helping you to elongate the lumbar spine. Deep breath into yielding. Inhale, lift your right leg up in the air, square hips here. Exhale and bring that foot forward to a lunge. Finding the breath, walk your back foot in some and come on up to stand. So you can take your feet wider apart or closer, however feels stable and comfortable for your body. Take a deep breath in, keep your hands on your hips, and we're just gonna turn to the side. See what it feels like to have that twist and a counter twist. So as you go right, belly turns left, navel toward the left hip. Feel the length of your spine. Exhales are where you twist. Such a gentle twist, right? Not going very far. Inhale, reaching the arms up to the sky. Exhale and come forward. Come into Parsvottanasana legs. Legs are square, or legs are straight, hips are square. Hands can be on blocks. Extending the spine. Feel the values of the body. Going up toward your crown, down toward your tail. Get extended and long. Feel the belly breathe. Both on the inhale, soft. Exhales, engaged. Feel the hamstrings begin to open. Notice what the state of your pelvis is. Are you in a deep anterior tilt or a posterior tilt? Can you find neutral? Can you have a sense of inner spiral of the upper thighs and wide sit bones? Is your front foot rooted? Can you feel the femur bone of your front leg reach up toward the hip? Is the spine growing in multiple directions? All right, great. Let's walk the back foot forward. Come into a toe touching stance. Chair pose, reaching the arms up to the sky, extending. This is a back bend living here, so if that's not so happy for your shoulders or back, you can always put your hands in a different plane. Finding the breath, squatting down, weight into the heels, draw the knees back into the pelvis here. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out. And then stand up straight. Exhale and fold forward, dog pose. Step back. Extend the spine again, yield into the floor and rebound through the vertebrae. Find your breath. Find the melting. Let's lift the left leg up in the air. Hips are square.
Exhale, bring the foot forward, come into a lunge. Hands on your blocks, walk the back foot in some Parsvottanasana legs. So you can take your foot out to the side more if you need more support underneath you. Find the breath, lift the spine. Maybe your arms want to come up, maybe your hands want to stay down. Find what you're finding, and we're going to twist just ever so slightly to the side. So as we go left, can you counter pose right with your navel toward your right hip? Are you still able to inner spiral the thighs? And notice if you already get bound, if you start creeping up your shoulders to your neck, if your breath has nowhere to go, see if you can let the belly soften on the inhales and recommit to the condensement on the exhales so that your breath has somewhere to go and you don't creep it up into the shoulders. All right, and then come back to center. Arms coming up if it feels comfortable, and come down into Parsvottanasana. Square the hips, root the femur bone up into the hip joint, inner spiral the thighs as the sit bones widen. Notice the pelvis. Is there an anterior, posterior tilt? Can you be neutral? Feel the spine grow, all directions. Crown, reaching upward toward your crown, reaching downward toward the pelvis, reaching outward. Big belly breaths, exhale to condense. Feel that your core strength comes on your exhales. How are your hamstrings feeling? Does it feel good to stretch? Can you root into the feet and broaden the feet? Okay, let's walk our back foot forward. And you can always, we're going to come into chair pose again. You can always stick a block between your thighs. If you need some more support for either your knees or your back or pelvis, sometimes having a block can really stabilize a lot in the body. So feel free to use a block for this if you want. Arms do not have to go up. They very much can go up. So you decide where you want to be. How is your spine? Can you feel the neutral curve in the lumbar spine? Draw the knees back into the hips. Decide where you want your arms to be. We're going to twist here. So before we do, feel the evenness of the pelvis all the way down to the feet. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, open twist to the right. Twist, counter twist. So we're going to hang out here for a moment, a couple of breaths. Can you feel yourself twist? And your hands can be on your hips or at your heart. And then can you counter twist to the left? Feel that support across your spine. Inhale, rise back up. Feel free to straighten your legs if you need to. Go the other direction. So these open twists where we're not putting our elbow on something are really healthy to teach us where to use our strength from to come into the posture. Twist left, counter twist right. Finding the breath. Drop the shoulders. Try not to creep. Are the knees still facing forward? Is the pelvis still facing forward? And then come on up, back to chair pose. Inhale, rise all the way up. Lean back a little bit. Open the chest. And then exhale and fold forward. Blocks are nice if you want them nearby. We're going to do a half lift in a moment. First, just wag your tail. Check in with your back. Inhale, halfway lift. Constantly be checking in with your spine, especially if you're a bit little vulnerable. Okay? We're going to take our right foot forward, our left foot back. You can stack 2 blocks on top if you know you need extra height for Parsva or Pavrita Trikonasana. So bring your left hand up in the air, your right hand on your hip. Extend through the spine. Extend through the spine. Feel the length, the crown growing, the tail dropping, the yielding feet. The belly expansive on the breath in, condensing on the breath out. Extend forward. Bring your hand onto the blocks or block, however high you need to be for a healthy turning of the spine. Root into the feet. Inner spiral your thighs. Reach that hip back. Let the femur bone reach into the hip joint. Extend the spine before you twist. Find the space for your vertebrae, for your discs. Remember, we want length. We want anterior, we want a neutral pelvis. And we want breath to take us where we want to go. So as you turn to the side, the hand can stay on the hip or come up in the air. However you choose to be in the pose, drop the shoulders. Try not to creep up toward the neck. Belly breath, engage on the exhales. Twist, counter twist. Stay rooted through your feet. It's okay if the back heel needs to come up off the floor. It's okay if you need to bring your front foot out to the side more. Notice if your hip pops out to the side, draw it in. Twist, counter twist, long spine. The breath is taking you where you're going. And then come back to center. Walk the back foot forward. Inhale and rise up. And just notice. Take a deep breath into the cylinder of your spine. Feel the breath move into the back of your body. Yield into the earth. All right, and then we're going to take the other side. So you can move your props over the other way. The left foot is forward, the right foot is back. Adjust your feet. So if you need to take that front foot out to the side more for balance, great. Just be where you are. Inner spiral the thighs. Feel the spine grow. Start to come forward into the posture. You can, I often like to reach my one arm up because it gives me that feeling of extension through my spine, but you don't have to do that. So you just go where your body says go. Put the blocks where your body wants to land, and pay attention if your left hip is popping out to the left, draw it back in. Stay on the train tracks. Inner spiral your thighs, extend the spine. Reach the femur bone up into the hip, root down through the foot. So even that front leg has a directional yielding where we're going one direction and rebounding into the other. Before you twist, extend the spine, create space. Find your breath. Belly soft on inhale, condense on exhale. Notice the pelvis. Are you in an anterior, posterior? Can you be neutral? Can you start to twist using your breath? Respect the twist. Only go where the breath takes you. The exhales condense you. The inhales expand you. The counter twists. Let the counter twist happen. Twist left, counter twist right, navel to right. Finding your breath. Always stay expansive through your spine. Space is key for stabilizing and supporting ourselves in a twist. Drop the shoulders. How does that counter twist make your pelvis feel? Can you feel that counter twist root all the way into your back foot? All right, and then let's go ahead and come out of the pose and come back to a plank. Okay, so find your way, stabilize, enjoy the symmetry, a sense of, oh, I'm balanced now, I'm supported in balance. Belly breath, soft on inhale, condense on exhale. The spine is still growing. All right, and then let's put our knees down onto the ground and come all the way to the floor. Find Superman. So you can either have your arms down at your sides, out to your sides, or up over your head. Legs can be close or wide. Lift yourself up into symmetry here. Try turning your toes out a little bit, engage those piriformis muscles. And then exhale and melt. Put your head down on your hands and just let your body rock. Breathing deeply. Okay, let's go ahead and come onto all fours, and we're going to turn over onto our back. A little bit of oblique work. Okay. So this can be difficult for the spine. So I want you to be very mindful if you are vulnerable at all. You can keep your feet down for this pose instead of lifting your knees up and your feet off the floor. So it can look like this where your arms are straight out to the side like a T, and we're just dropping our knees, kind of like what we did in the beginning where we're dropping off to one side and counter twisting the other. If you're ready for something a little deeper, be very mindful to protect yourself. The knees are going to come higher toward the chest, and we're going to do revolved belly pose. So there's so many variations of this. You can keep your knees bent and just go a little bit off midline. You can go deeper and come bringing your knees all the way to your elbow and lift back up. You can, and we're going to go from one side to the other. You can also lift your legs straight. This is a much deeper pose. Palms out to the side, and we're going to bring our feet to our palms and back up. So you decide where your body is best suited. Dole this pose out for
you know, how strong you feel in your back right now. So we want to have the twist, counter twist. The obliques are fully in charge of this pose. So let's use our breath. Let's lengthen the spine. Let's keep the pelvis neutral. And let's use that twist, counter twist, and breath to move from one side to the other. So sometimes I experiment and I don't go very far. And I just feel, you know, kind of closer into the condensement of my center, the core of me. And then other times, you know, you want to branch out a little bit more, see what it feels like to drop the knees further over. Where do you lift yourself from? So when you drop your knees far, you need to have that pullback of that counter twist to lift your knees back up. Are you breathing? How does this feel on your back? How does it feel churning through, you know, you don't necessarily like churn your organs. You know, a lot of people have said you wring out your organs with twists. You don't really wring out your organs, but what you do is massage. So there's a lot, when you use your breath and your muscles and move your fascia by moving your body, there's a lot of massaging happening for the internal organs. So enjoy what this might feel like and stay in your range of motion. All right, and then once you're done with wherever you're going, we're going to bring the knees into the chest, pull the knees apart, and back in again. Okay, let's put our feet down onto the ground. Let's counter that just a little bit with a bridge pose. Take a deep breath in. You can either choose to have your arms overhead for a longer bridge or a more complete bridge where your arms are down at your sides. Feel your feet root into the earth, big toe mounts 2. Extend the spine. Find the breath now, belly expansive. See what it feels like. Breathe your way here. All right, and then let's melt the hips back down onto the ground. Roll over onto your side and come up into dog pose. One more round of some standing poses, and then we're going to do a twist on our seat. But first, just feel the extension in dog pose. What does it feel like here? How are you breathing? Are you feeling expansive through your spine? Do you feel those values going into the crown and to the tail? Can you yield? What does it feel like after doing some belly churning, belly turning? What does it feel like in your breath? Let's lift the right leg up in the air. Exhale and spring that foot forward. Come into a long lunge. Rise up, crescent lunge. And you're going to get to decide how deep you want this twist to be. You can put your hand onto the ground and come into a nice open twist. You can put your elbow to the knee or your forearm on your knee. So you go where you go. So the deepest is the elbow on the knee and the palms coming together. If you're going to go into that deep turn, be so mindful that the bones are not doing the work for you. So you don't want to have the leverage of your elbow on your knee torquing you into a deeper twist than your body's ready for. Follow the breath. The spine is growing, the pelvis is neutral, the twist and counter twist is happening. Breathe your way here, no matter where you're going. The exhale support you, the belly expands on the breath in. Stretch into that back leg, lift the femur bone, engage the glutes on that back leg, and then release the hands down onto the ground. Dog pose, extending the spine. Find the neutral. Did that feel good? Or did you feel like you went too far? You know, it's so easy to cross boundaries. So let's be very mindful of staying within our boundaries. Lift your left leg up and swing it through to a lunge. Find your way up into crescent lunge, extending the spine, and you get to decide where you want to be in this posture. Do you want to have your hand on the ground or on a block and be really open? Do you want to have your forearm on your knee and be a little bit more upright? Do you want to have your elbow
on your knee and go a little deeper. No matter which of those three choices you're taking, the back femur bone, lift it up and stretch that heel. Feel the crown and tail. Engage the glutes on that back leg. Hug to the midline. The spine grows. The twist happens on the exhales. Follow only where your breath takes you, not where your bones take you. Feel the counter twist to support the spine. Is your belly able to breathe? Are your shoulders soft and not taking the breath high? And then unwind that pose. Come back, hands onto the ground, and find your way into dog pose. Nice neutral posture here. Feel the yielding. Do whatever you want. So, do your knees want to bend? Do your elbows want to bend? Is your face relaxed? All right, and then let's go ahead and come on to our knees and resist the urge to go into child's pose. We're going to do that in just a moment. We'll come into flexion. But right now, let's just come back onto our back one more time, lifting up into a bridge pose. Do the opposite of what you did before. So if your arms were down, bring them up. If your arms were up, bring them down. Finding the breath, hug toward the midline. You can even stick a block between your thighs to help you find the midline. Doesn't have to be super high. Your pelvis does not need to go super high. All right, and then relax. Roll over onto your side. We have one more twist to go, and then we're gonna find some neutral. All right, so sitting on the edge of a blanket, if you so choose. There's so many ways to twist, but for today, I want you to practice what it feels like to have, so we're gonna take our right leg straight, cross the left leg over, and I want you to practice what it feels like to not let your elbow be the dominating force of push. So if you're used to doing this pose where your elbow goes to your outer knee and you torque yourself over as far as you can, and you like that extreme, practice backing away from the extreme. What would it feel like instead to hug your forearm around your knee, hand behind you, lift your spine, feel the anterior tilt of the pelvis. The spine grows. Remember, seated twists are the most vulnerable for our spine. So we want to protect with the twist, counter twist. We want to protect with the long spine, and we want to protect with a neutral pelvis. Find your breath. Only go where your breath takes you. What does the counter twist feel like here? Is it different than when the other twisting postures we've done? And then come back around. Bring your knees to your chest. Just have a quick moment of around, chin toward chest. And then we're going to bring our foot onto the ground. So now our left leg is straight. We're crossing our right leg over. Wrap your forearm around your knee. Hand behind you is helpful. It helps you anterior tilt the pelvis a little bit. If you tend to roll back, it tends to help you lift the spine. So check in with the pelvis, neutral pelvis, long spine. Find the breath. Drop the shoulders, widen the collarbones. Twist on your exhale and feel the counter twist embedded in there. The inhales take you high and long in your spine. The exhales twist you deeper. Only go where your breath takes you. Twist, counter twist. Long spine, neutral pelvis. All right, and then let's go ahead and come on out of there. We're going to take our feet into Baddha Konasana. We're still on the edge of a blanket. And instead of rounding back and dropping your chin, try to anterior tilt the pelvis just a little bit here. Feel the symmetry across your sacrum. Keep the spine neutral so we're not rounding. We're growing. Sternum lifting, stretching forward. Feel free to press the elbows or hands into the knees a little bit. And then come on up, and we're going to pull the feet further away from us. So now we're creating like a diamond shape in between our legs. Same, we're still moving the spine. We're not rounding and collapsing. The heart is extending forward. The elbows or hands are moving into the knees, letting the hips open a bit. Stretch open as you breathe. Spine stays long. Feel the symmetry across your pelvis. All right, and then go ahead and come on up and out of there. Come onto your back. Have a block handy. Find your breath. All right, let's bring our knees to our chest, rock just a moment. And then we're going to put the block on the lowest height under the sacrum. So after twisting, it's really nice to do a little support of the back bend to help neutralize the spine and the pelvis. So just notice if your upper back is tense, see what you can do to relax. We're going to just let the pelvis melt on the block, the low height of the block. Feel the symmetry across the sacrum. Deep belly breaths. Feel the softness of your belly. Maybe even put your hands on your belly. Soft. It's so soft in there. So let the belly come into the soft, big open breath as you inhale. Full exhale. Let your breath massage your spine. All right, now we're going to stay on the block. We're going to bring our knees toward our chest. Feel a little bit of traction for the lumbar spine. Still breathing deeply and well. And then as you're ready, we're going to lift our legs straight up in the air on the block. Pelvis is still on the block. So leg up the wall pose without the wall. Feel the weight of your femur bones settling into your pelvis. I hope this feels nourishing to your lumbar spine. It can be very soothing to the spine to have the femur bones weight into the hips. Breathe deeply, and you can do this with bent knees if your hamstrings are like freaking out from having your legs straight. No worries, just be in a comfortable position. Still finding the long spine and the deep breaths. Feel the blood and lymph drain back toward the center body. Enjoy the break on your legs. All right, then go ahead and release. Take the block out of there and lie down for Shavasana. Now, I would recommend a blanket or something underneath your knees. You can put your legs up on a couch. So support underneath your knees. This is very soothing after twisting poses to have your knees bent. So put any amount of support you need. Melt the spine into the floor. Melt the pelvis into the floor. Feel the weight of your legs. Let your breath travel all through your belly, your spine, your torso, everywhere you can find it to be. Exhale and release your body into the floor. Can you feel your whole body yield now? Soft face. Stay with the breath.
Begin to deepen our breathing again. See what it feels like to expand your breath into your full torso. Let's find our way into movement in the body. Let's eventually find maybe a big full stretch, arms up overhead. Find your full body. And then knees into your chest and rock around a little bit. Come rolling over onto your side and lift yourself up to sit. And as you come to a comfortable seat, let's just take a moment to notice, how is your practice serving you? Let's think once again into this, what are we turning toward? Not just what are we turning away from, but fully embody what you are turning toward. Let's offer this energy of, looking deeply at where we're going. What does that give you, and how can you offer that to another? Share your practice. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.